This is Josh Currier, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
This is Zach Currier, and you're listening to Pro Lacrosse Talk.
Tom Schreiber.
Sidearm whip, scores!
Now is one. Fidel scores! Hands off for Rabel, switches hands and scores!
Carly O'Miller showing off those shifty skills.
Right off the bat, there's Lyle Thompson. And there is a goal for Josh Currier. There's a stop attempt, scores! Zach Currier.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast, the voice of Pro Lacrosse. I'm Hutton, he's Adam, and together we're bringing you interviews from all your favorite players and coaches, as well as news and analysis from all 4 professional lacrosse leagues. Welcome to another episode of Pro Lacrosse Talk. We have another edition of Bros in the Pros, as we are joined by brothers Josh Currier and Zach Currier. Josh is a forward with the Philadelphia Wings and recently joined the Archers Lacrosse Club in the PLL. Zach is a member of the Calgary Roughnecks, who are still the defending champions, and was recently drafted number 1 in the PLL entry draft by the Waterdogs. Josh and Zach, thank you for joining us. How are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. Happy to have you guys on. We're excited, to talk a little bit about the NLL, your time playing together with Peterborough Lakers as well, and then this upcoming PLL Championship Series. But before we get started, I kind of want to dive into you guys growing up in Peterborough, huge hotbed for lacrosse, obviously. When did you guys first pick up a stick and start playing lacrosse?
Zach, what are the ages? Zach always knows the ages.
I was 8, you were 9.
Yeah. We played soccer up until then, and we grabbed lacrosse sticks that year, and it was all over from there.
Did you guys play on a lot of the same teams, or were you more going up against each other?
We play together every other year because the way it works in Canada, you have like one age group is split in 2. You have the minor and then the major. Mm-hmm. So one year you're the younger age, and the next year you're the older age. So we'd play together every other year.
I noticed too, you guys headed to different high schools. How did that come about?
I don't exactly know why that happened. Zach had a lot better grades, and he had high aspirations. He actually was talking about going to Princeton in like grade 9, like really early on. And if he wanted to get to Princeton, that was kind of the route he needed to take. So he was kind of looking into it a lot more than I was. I kind of graduated and still didn't really know what I was going to do. And I just got lucky enough that the Hill Academy was new to their PG program and looking for players. So it was actually Merrick Thompson came to one of my games in the summertime when I had no plans for my following year. And he came to me and said that what they were doing there at the Hill Academy. So that's how I ended up there.
And then going off of that, Zach, you went to the Culver Military Institute. How was it your time there, and how did that really shape you and prepare you for Princeton?
I had a great time there. One of my friends from Peterborough, Kyle Trolley, he'd gone the year before. So I kind of got really lucky with that. He went the year before and brought me along with him. And I had a great time. It's a military school. A lot of people meet me and they're like, I cannot believe you went to a military school. So it was interesting at first, but I was able to adapt and kind of take away a lot of skills from that school. Biggest one for me was the time management aspect. And then Coach Posner there is obviously a super successful coach. He's moved on to Lawrenceville now, but I was very fortunate to have him as a coach for my 3 years there and as a mentor and a recruiter, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing with the recruiting process. And he kind of told me where to go, what camps to go to, who to talk to. And he really got me to Princeton. So I'm super thankful that he was there for me. And I had a great time. Still, some of my best friends are from Culver, and I keep in touch with them obviously a lot more than I would have if I didn't go to Culver. So I made a lot of great friendships there.
And he still makes his bed every day.
Oh, that's great. There's a book, I think, Make Your Bed, right? That former officer, Navy SEAL, I think, wrote. It's kind of like, a good way to start your day. So
makes sense. Keep with the tradition, right? But let's talk a little bit about your college days, right? Zach, it sounded like you wanted to go to Princeton for a long time. And Josh, you ended up at Virginia Wesleyan. Let's start with Josh. How did you end up at Wesleyan?
So I didn't have the best grades going through high school, so I kind of limited myself with options. But then going to the Hill Academy, that opened up a lot more for me. And then I was actually fortunate enough that it was actually Coach Riley, who was our assistant coach. He was there for 8 years, actually. which is pretty long for assistant coach in D3.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to him a lot, and Coach Stewart, and I was just lucky enough that they took a risk on me and kind of persuaded the admissions to get me in there, and kind of convinced them that I was going to pick up my act once I got to college, which I did. And I have them to thank for that. But they took the risk on me. I went down there for a visit, and I saw the beach, and that's all I needed to see.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think we mentioned off pod, but we played you guys. I went to a smaller school in Pennsylvania, Elizabethtown, and we not only got smacked by you, but you had at the time a career high in goals against us with 6 against my coach in the scouting report was just kept saying there's a Canadian, just don't let him past you, and you got past our slow defense every single time. So you only got 2. I was a goalie. You got 2 across. You beat me twice, but yeah, that was your. I knew
on how many shots, how many saves did you make, Adam? Do you know how many saves?
I don't know. I did not have a good game.
It's great. My sister actually plays at Virginia Wesleyan, plays soccer right now. So fellow Marlin, and like you said, the beach down there is awesome. So I envy that. It was probably a great college experience to be able to go to the beach, living so close there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how close you are. Like it's close enough where you could go in between classes. You're like less than a 10-minute drive from the bay. Oceanfront's a little bit further, maybe 15, 20 minutes to the oceanfront, but we would go to Chesapeake Bay or Chicks Beach, and that's where we spent most of our time when we weren't playing lacrosse or studies.
That's awesome. And Zach, you were a little bit more landlocked being in New Jersey, but you went to Princeton where you had a phenomenal career there. You ended up finishing second all-time in ground balls with 302, and then 4th all-time in points scored by a midfielder. We already kind of talked about your decision to go there, but how was your career there, and how do you think you kind of developed your skill set that helped you going into the pros while at Princeton?
I was taught my freshman year indirectly to be as hungry as I possibly can. I came out of high school. I was a pretty high recruit, and I thought I was going to play right away. I got into college. I was not ready to play at that level in the fall, and then I had a few injuries like right leading up into season, and it put me back a bit. So I struggled to get like a decent amount of playing time my freshman year, and then I came back my sophomore year with a vengeance, and I needed to be on the field. And then so that first year really taught me that you need to want it more than anyone else. So I thought that was something I learned. And then throughout the process, like you got to take matters into your own hand, regardless of what it is. I tried to help our team out wherever it was. Like my sophomore year, I started out the season on the first line midfield. Didn't take a single face off in the first couple games, and then we struggled at the X a little bit, and gradually throughout the year I took more face offs. And then by the Ivy League tournament, we're going up against Yale and Cornell, who had 2 really great face off men, Massimilian and Connor Mackey. They're really successful, and my coach came to me and was like, you're going to be a FOGO for this tournament, and you're going to play the last shift of the second quarter and the last shift of the game. So just be prepared for that. So then I learned that obviously lacrosse is a team sport, so got to help out where you can. And I was taking a lot of face-offs at the end of that year, and those are some lessons that I kind of brought with me throughout the rest of my career, and I ended up being pretty successful.
No, definitely. You know, you had a great career at Princeton. And like you said, you kind of developed that skill set that you're kind of known for, being, almost like a Swiss Army knife. We talk about all the time how, the two-way midfielder is so important now, especially in the pro game. And you really develop that skill set. So I guess let's kind of talk about the NLL a little bit. I mean, Josh, going off of you spent 2 seasons with the Nighthawks before joining the Wings for the past 2 years. And then Zach, you were with the Roughnecks. Like I mentioned earlier, you won the NLL Championship last season, and still defending champs right now because of the cut short season. But we'll start with you, Josh. Kind of how did you make that jump to the pros? And kind of how has your game kind of progressed since being on the Nighthawks your rookie season to now being on the Wings?
I had a pretty smooth transition, I think, mainly because Mike Hazen and Paul Day were coaching me in Peterborough in the MSL. And, they drafted me to Rochester, so I knew 2 of the coaches right off the bat, which helped a ton. And then actually a big player in my transition was Dan Dawson. He kind of took me under his wing. He helped me out a lot and helped me feel comfortable and gave me the confidence I needed. And I had Corey Vitarelli, who I was sharing drives with. He helped me out a lot too and gave me a lot of confidence. So I have those two to thank for the transition to the NLL, and just playing with those players on that offense we had in Rochester. Just it would help me so much to grow as a player, and I have a lot to thank the Rochester Nighthawks for because of that.
Absolutely. And then how's it been being on the wings? Kind of the reincarnated wings. Is your second season. You guys really started to come into your own. You had a rough first season as the wings, but it seemed like you guys were starting to click this past year before the season was cut short. How did you guys come together, and how did you see the team progress during that time?
Well, our first year, our record didn't show it, but we learned a lot, and we actually had a good team that we lost a lot of close games. It was actually unbelievable how many games we lost in the fourth quarter. So the attitude was really good on that team, and everyone had a positive mindset always, which was huge to be on a team that loses that many games and actually still be excited to go down to Philadelphia every weekend and see the guys. It was kind of a unique experience, because if you're losing that many games, it's kind of tough to be excited to go down and hang out with the team and just do it again for another weekend. But that team was awesome, and we still are. We have the core group there, and we built a lot on that first season, and I think it showed this year where we kind of came into our own and winning a lot more games, and it was sad to see it get cut short. But that team, I think, is something special, and I think we're going places with that squad.
What do you think of the Philly faithful, the fans? I'm from Delco, so I'm right down the road. So what do you think of that crowd? And Zach, you could answer that one too, I guess, as a opponent.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. They're amazing. They let you know when you're not doing well, but we appreciate that, and they really have your back always. But when you're doing well, you're always hearing from them, and it's crazy. You see them out after games. You have thousands of them waiting to see you and just take a picture and get an autograph, and it's crazy. The fans there are unbelievable. They're truly the best in the game.
That's
I think
great,
I might argue that, though.
I'd argue that.
Well, let's start that argument, I guess, a little bit. Zach, you were with the Roughnecks. Talk about that championship run last year and what that culminated and what that meant to you.
That was a pretty insane run looking back at it. I'm going to say it started probably with our win over Georgia. We had Jesse King back in our lineup for the first time against his former squad, and he's just an awesome guy to fit into our puzzle at the time. The ball stayed in Dobie's stick most of the time, rightfully so, the MVP, but no better number two guy to have than Jesse King. So that was huge for us to get him back at that time. And we played Georgia. We win at home, and then we have SAS coming in the next weekend, and we had another great game. We win again, and then we're going into playoffs. We're seeded third, and we we fly down to San Diego. It was on a Monday, I think it was. It was a funky game, really close game. I think it might have been maybe 2-goal lead at the most by any team, and then we win by a goal. I go back to Michigan at the time. I'm watching the Colorado and SAS game in my friend's garage, and I saw Joey Capito score that breakaway overtime winner. And as soon as that happened, I was like, we're gonna win this thing. Like there's no way we don't win this thing. Like Sask had kind of been our Achilles heel on my first year. We beat them in the regular season, didn't have to face them again, come back into Calgary. Del Bianco plays the game of his life. We win 8-4. Head into Buffalo. Their fans are just as crazy as Philly's fans. They don't like us. We go down there. Another close game. I think we win by 2. And then we come back home. And just to go off the point that we were talking about earlier about the fans, we call timeout in overtime. I think I had picked up a loose ball. I was going to get hit back into the crease. I throw it in the corner. We pick it up, and it's frantic. We call a timeout. We couldn't hear our coaches talking. The floor was literally shaking, like shaking. You're standing there, and it was shaking because of how loud it was. And then we win it. And, like, even to this year, like our fans set up a Zoom call to watch that game, and they had a couple of our players on it, which was really cool. Just so the dedication that our fans have, and I'm sure it's around the rest of the league. Every player is going to say they have the best fans, but I do think we have the best fans in Calgary.
Yeah, no, and it's a little bit different than field, and I think maybe just the environment being in the box, in an arena, it can get so much louder. But there's so many great venues. I mean, the Saddle Dome is one that people mention. Obviously, Adam's partial to the Wells Fargo Center, but you hear about the Loud House out in Denver. You hear about, Halifax had a great venue apparently this year too. So I think it's a testament to the NLL, and we mentioned Banditland as well, of the venues and the fans that come out in droves to kind of see you guys play. So it's interesting to hear about all the different places, because it's not, we tend to think of, at least in America, the field lacrosse game kind of, being just East Coast. But if you look at the NLL, all these cities are across the map, both Canada and America, in terms of the fan bases. So it's kind of exciting to hear about, it's a good thing to have the discussions and debates which fans are the best, I think. And then going off of that, so you guys play each other. The Wings got the best of the Roughnecks this past year. That was a close game. Talk a little bit about your guys' competitiveness. Do you treat these games any differently when you go up against each other, or is it just another game for you guys? Just typical business for you guys.
I'm gonna take that one because I will definitely get the worst end of the stick if I mess up. If Josh messes up on offense, I get the ball and I give it to our offensive players and they go down and do something. But if I mess up, there's a goal and I'm sitting there and Josh is celebrating. So definitely hyper aware of where he is on the floor and what he's doing, just because I feel like we talk about lacrosse enough and we've seen each other play that I'd have a better book on Josh than any player on our team would. So I do like the competitiveness, but it's also nervous, and I don't want to be on the end of a highlight reel with Josh busting me off and scoring a goal.
Speaking of that, our first game Zach's first NLL game ever was actually in Rochester. We spanked them. But anyway, in the first quarter of the game, I come around the top of the floor, and I think he lets me beat him because he goes for a trail check, and he pops the ball out of my stick perfectly, where it goes up in the air. One of his defenders catches it before it even bounces, I think, and he's gone for a breakaway. And I'm like, oh no. And I'm chasing him down on the breakaway, thinking Zach's going to get the first NLL goal off a cause turnover, stripping me of the ball. But like, thank goodness he missed that shot, because I heard the end of that one. But
who's more competitive of you two
right now?
Who's more competitive?
It's hard to say. Zach's definitely more emotional. I think I control my emotions a little bit better. If you ask someone else, they'd probably say Zach, but that's just, I think he shows it a little more. We grew up in the same house. We played on the same teams. We have a very similar competitive spirit.
Every backyard lacrosse game was the game 7 of the Stanley Cup when we were kids. Both hockey players, and we did not let up at all. So I'd say it's a tie for sure.
Lots of bloody fingers and freakouts in the house to mom.
That's awesome. That sounds like I have 3 younger brothers, and there's a big age gap between me and them, but I see it even with them. I luckily I'm very competitive myself, but I can luckily be level-headed since I'm, an adult, and they're, still teenagers or in middle school. But the freakouts, man, it's just, it's just a brother thing that comes with the territory.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's kind of go off of playing against each other to playing with each other in major series with Peterborough. You guys were lucky enough to win Mann Cup in 17, 18, and 19. What was it like winning that cup?
Well, I'll center out 18 specifically, because that was kind of we're not finished with our lacrosse career whatsoever, but almost the culmination of our lacrosse live growing up, where Zach and I going to Lakers games together, pretending to be Scott Evans, John Grant, John Tavares, Sean Evans, pretending to be those players in the backyard our whole lives, and then going to win a Mann Cup in Peterborough together and being able to take a picture of the Mann Cup, both holding it together, was kind of a crazy experience that we will never forget. And we have the pictures to hang up on our wall at every house we ever live in, and something we'll always cherish. So I think specifically that year was kind of awesome for not only us, but our whole family, because that's kind of what we've all dreamed of and watched the teams before us do. And just to be a part of it finally was an awesome experience.
Don't get me wrong, 17 and 19 were sweet, but
Yeah.
18 when we go to we win the cup, and then our family comes down to the floor, and it's all of our friends who obviously wouldn't be out in BC at our games. So just to be able to share it with the city of Peterborough that we grew up in was a super special thing.
No, that's awesome that you guys get to do that. And unfortunately, the season's not happening this summer, but, we look forward to seeing you guys suit up together again. But let's go a little bit into your 5 championships, Zach. It would be remiss not to mention those. I know we just had Max Adler, your former teammate, write an article on that. This interesting thing about that story is you won 5 championships in 407 days, but it started with losing, in that 2018 World Games. How much did that kind of light a fire under you to kind of go out and, prove other people wrong and, kind of get that first title under your belt? And then how did you just keep going, one after the other?
Well, it's definitely still burning. I was at my friend's house. Bobby Snyder and Jeff Snyder had a birthday party for Bobby's girlfriend Amy, and obviously Team Canada comes up, and then I get all flustered and I have to explain to the people who are like, "What do you mean? What happened in Israel?" And I got to explain to them the situation, and then I get all worked up. I start shaking if I talk about it. But it's definitely still fuels me today. I feel that the outcome could have been different with different circumstances, but obviously that's someone's opinion, and I don't have the gold medal. The U.S. does. So at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So it did fuel me and does fuel me today. I feel like I still have a lot to prove, and I don't think I'll really get a chance to be okay with that until 2022 when we get to face off against them again. So that was a tough one. That hurt, and it did put a lot of anger into my body for a long time, and it's still brewing in there. So definitely good motivating factor to kind of put everything else aside and focus on the game and focus on trying to win as much as I can. Yeah, no,
and tell me a little bit too about the rigorous schedule that you were doing, because not only were you winning these championships, but you were traveling back and forth between Peterborough and wherever you're playing in the MLL. And then you were, I think, living in Michigan at the time, correct, or whatever, where you're working. So, talk about your schedule and how are you able to manage all that and still, perform at a high level?
I had no personal life for a long time. I didn't get to really see many of my friends during the process, but it was definitely a lot. So the process, the way it would work is I'd go Monday, I'd go to work till 4:00, and then obviously go to the gym or whatever, do that up until Thursday. Thursday at lunch, I would leave the Warp City because I was a product development engineer there. And then I'd hop in the car, drive 5 hours to Peterborough, have dinner at Spaghetti Factory or Spaghetti House across the road, and then head over to the arena, play my game, probably win because we're with the Lakers, and then go and hang out with my family for about an hour up in the bar in Peterborough. And then I would hop in the car again on Friday, drive to the airport, fly to either Denver or Chesapeake or wherever we were playing, practice that night, and then I'd play the game on Saturday, maybe have a beer or two after the game, and then head home Sunday. And I would have to fly out of Toronto, so I'd have to fly back to Toronto and then drive to Michigan another 3.5 hours. Some nights I was getting home at like 2 a.m, and then I'm up at 7 going to work again. And then with the requirements of playing 6 games, sometimes I had to mix in a Tuesday night Six Nations game where I'm leaving work at 3:00 and I get to the arena and play my game, and I'm getting home at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and then going back to work on Wednesday, and then MLL game that weekend. It was pretty crazy.
No, it's nuts. I'm tired just listening to it. No, but that's awesome that you were able to still like do it all. And I think that's a testament too about the, people don't really see the lifestyle that you guys as lacrosse players have to go through, because a lot of you do still have, full-time jobs, and a lot of you are playing in different leagues that sometimes overlap. So I think it's a, testament to your discipline and ability to do that. Talk a little bit too about this, Denver Outlaws team, because you were with them for a little while. I know you're making the switch to the PLL, but talk a little bit too about winning that championship in 2018. And then, back to, losing it in 2019, a heartbreaker. How, is that light a little fire under you still too? I know you talk about, that a little bit too. So.
Yeah, I was talking to my girlfriend about it last week when I was visiting with her, but I was saying how much I don't really enjoy winning as much as I hate to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hate losing. I'm sure a lot of people are in that same boat, but I take so much satisfaction in not losing that I forget that I won half the time. So losing in 2019 was definitely a heartbreaker, and especially that it was in Denver and could have been in front of the fans. So that was a tough one. But in 2018, we had a great squad. A lot of team guys on that team. Obviously, Max Adler's one that pops to my mind. He took a lot of time and effort to put into that article and get that submitted, because he felt like I should get some recognition. So that just shows you the kind of guy that he is. And a lot of our team was like that. We have Mikey Schlosser, one of the best team guys you'll ever have. And then it doesn't hurt having John Grant Jr. behind the bench too in 2018. And then he suits up with you in 2019. And then me and him are playing catch for real when me and Josh were pretending to be John Grant Jr. in the backyard 12 years beforehand. So it was a really cool experience being able to be on the Denver Outlaws team. And unfortunately, it's come to an end, and I've decided to move on to the PLL, and I'm super thrilled to be a part of the Waterdogs and have a lot of former teammates there, and I can't wait for the next chapter. But I did have a great experience in Denver, one of the best organizations I've been a part of, and I have nothing bad to say about the Denver Outlaws.
No, that's awesome. I know, we titled that piece that Max wrote, The Next Dance, because we feel like, the whole Michael Jordan, situation we were talking about, trying to ride that, but, you really are focused on your next championship. It's almost like goes in hand with you, how you hate losing. It's, you just are focused on that next one. So we're excited to see what you guys do in the PLL Championship Series. And, going off of that, you both are going to be playing in that championship series. Like Zach, you mentioned you're joining the Waterdogs. Josh, you're making the return to the field game, first time as a professional with the Archers. Other than playing against each other again, what are you most looking forward to in this PLL Championship Series?
I'm really looking forward to getting back on the field. It's been 4 years now. I had some of the best years of my life playing field lacrosse at Virginia Wesleyan. So I'm super excited to get back on the field and play field again, and just to be playing with the best field lacrosse players in the world is just icing on the cake right there. And the skill that we have on the Archers is unbelievable, and I think that I can fit into that O pretty good, and just like the players on that O is just crazy. So I'm super excited to play with them and to see what we can do in this PLL championship.
Yeah, I think Joe Keegan was mentioning how you're the replacement for Ben McIntosh to fit in and do those pick and rolls, that two-man offense that the Archers loves to do. So I think he's excited to see you suit up with them as well. And how about you, Zach? How have you, your conversations been with Coach Andy Copeland and some of the guys on this team? Because you guys are all coming in, first time playing together. How have you guys kind of started to build that chemistry before you even step on the field together?
Yeah, Andy Copeland has been great for me personally and for our team as well. He calls me if there's anything I want to talk about. We bounce ideas off of each other. We'll chalk talk and game plan, and he'll ask me about some Canadian guys he might not know about. We share a lot of ideas together. So he's a player's coach for sure, and everyone that I've talked to that's had him as a coach before has nothing but great things to say about him. So I'm super pumped to get going there. And I think part of the chemistry is kind of coach just coming to us and saying, what do you think about this? Or how do you want to run this scenario? And then we'll kind of be like, well, I did this in college. I like this. I didn't like this. And then he'll take everyone's ideas and come in and mash it up. And then everyone gets a little piece of what they what they did best in college or what they liked the most. So that part's been nice. And then we'll have Zoom calls Thursday nights to kind of go over riding, clearing. And I think the next one's half field offense and half field defense. So just kind of talk and shop about all that stuff.
Awesome.
That's great. You won't have to fly as much since it's you'll be in one spot for a little while, right, Zach?
Yeah, no flights.
So before we get into our 5 and 5, I wanted to talk a little bit about Top Draft Lacrosse. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing, mentoring young athletes, and kind of through the recruiting process and player development.
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to have Shane reach out to us. He already had Top Draft hockey running. He was very successful with it, and I think he's a lacrosse player at heart. He might have been more successful with hockey, but he loves lacrosse, and he wanted to get Top Draft Lacrosse going. So he reached out, and we got a really good crew on board with Eric Schul, who plays with me on the wings, and then we got Rob Hope, who was captain of the Lakers and assistant captain of the Colorado Mammoths. So we have a super, super good crew there. But our main objective is to help young athletes fulfill their goals again to the NCAA. With we think with all the Division 1, 2, and 3, there's so many different options, and there's a spot for pretty much every lacrosse player out there. And we just want to help some of these Canadian kids, or even American kids, but specifically Canadian kids that don't have the exposure the American kids have, where we can kind of use our connections down to the coaches in the States and help them out with skill development. We're going to watch their film and scout their film and give them insight. We're going to be there for them and their families with any questions they have about recruiting, the whole recruiting process in general, because we've been through it. And yeah, we're super excited. We hit the ground running, that's for sure. And I think we have an awesome leader with Shane, and we're super excited to keep rolling with that.
And it's definitely something that we wish was around when we were kids. I was super lucky in that all the pieces fell exactly in the right spot, and I ended up at Princeton. But I don't know if I go back and I'm in Peterborough again, I don't know if the cards fall in the same place without the super lucky bounces. So we're kind of taking into our own hands and saying, this is what you need to do. We know this person, we know that person. You got to work on this part of your game, and basically just bridge the gap between Canada and American schools. Because everyone in the States is looking at us saying, oh my goodness, you guys play box lacrosse, your skills are so much different than ours, and they kind of fit into their offense or their defense if it's defensemen. So we're just trying to bridge the gap and get players to the next level and be able to share the same experiences that we experienced, because lacrosse is a great sport and it opened up a lot of doors for us.
No, it's awesome that you guys are doing that, kind of giving back to the future generations. And if there's young listeners listening to this, it's topdraftlacrosse.com that you can go to. You can find more information on that. We appreciate you guys sharing a little bit about that. We take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll go into our 5 and 5 segment. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast. Today I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Anchor. We've been using Anchor for the Pro Lacrosse Talk podcast since the very start. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place, and better yet, it's free. They allow you to easily record and edit your podcast, and once it's published, they send it out to all the major networks such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. They also connect you with advertisers so you can start making money from your podcast right away. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast today, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Today, I also want to talk to you about Design Tree. On our Design Tree store, we have several t-shirt designs like the Pro Lacrosse Talk tee I'm wearing today, our Blast Lacrosse shirt, Cross's Medicine shirt, and many more designs on the way. Design Tree is also home to hundreds of other t-shirt designs in the realm of sports and pop culture. To help support the podcast, please consider checking out our Design Tree store at dsgntree.com/pro-lacrosse-talk and grab a shirt today. All right, so welcome back. Let's go into our 5 and 5 segment. For this one, I'll take the lacrosse questions and we'll take the life questions. So right off the bat, I'll start. What are some pregame superstitions or routines that you guys have?
I love doing yoga at home during the weeks, and I kind of give myself a little go out on the floor without my shoes on. I do a little, first off, I get to the arena and I tape my stick, make sure I tape my stick before I go on the floor. Then I get on the floor, do my little half yoga routine on the floor, get stretched out, go back inside, grab my stick and get a little shoot around. But I always get to the arena, get my stick taped up, get on the floor, get loose, and then that's what I start from there. From there, I kind of freelance, do whatever I feel like doing. But those two are set in stone. My first two things when I get to the arena.
Awesome. How about you, Zach?
If it's a Calgary game, I'm heading down to the basement of the Fairmont and grabbing a Starbucks coffee, and then getting in the shuttle and heading over to the arena. But I try to keep it loose before the game. The only real routine that I have is I keep my helmet, my gloves, and my stick outside of the locker room before the game and in between periods. Something that happened in Peterborough, there was like a little bench on the side of like outside of our room, and the lockers were really tight. So we'd put our helmet and gloves on there, a couple of us, just so that when we go back into the room in between periods that we have a little more space. And I kept doing it. So I don't have too many, but I keep my helmet, gloves, and my stick outside of the room after first warm up and in between all the periods or quarters or whatever you want to call them.
Awesome. And then going off of that a little bit, do you guys have any top songs on your game day playlist or workout playlist?
Oh, I'll be the first to admit it that I'm the worst with the music. I listen to it nonstop, but I'm straight on Spotify, click a random playlist, and I'm listening to it. So I leave that up to everyone else to choose my music for me. So that's all I got with that one.
But during like the quarantine, Josh and I have been doing a lot of workouts together, and we just put on the Tragically Hip on shuffle, and then we'll bang out a workout and get pumped up along the way. So I'd probably say it's the hit for both of us.
Yep.
And then going off of that too, what are kind of been your workouts been in quarantine? How have you guys kind of stayed in shape, not only, preparing for the PLL Championship Series, but also, when the NLL was still on hiatus, what were you guys doing to kind of stay in shape?
I was kind of set up for it to start. Coincidentally, I moved a little bit out of town, kind of far from the gym. So I already had an air bike here at the house, a little dumbbell set, some bands, a bench. So I kind of was set up. But I'd say the huge factor for us during the quarantine was Evolution.
Andrew English?
Yeah. What's his company? Evolution Fit. Yeah. Andrew English from Evolution Fit. He started sending us workouts 4 days a week. Bodyweight workouts, and just like absolutely insane workouts that I haven't done that kind of workouts. So it was like CrossFit workouts, but body weight. And my endurance actually is way better now than it's been since, I don't know if I've had better endurance than I have right now. And I have him and Evolution Fit to thank for that. So he's been huge for keeping us in shape while we can't get to the gyms.
It's awesome. So you guys will be ready for that sprint. That's going to be the championship series.
Yeah. I don't know if any players will be better at playing more games in a short period of time than the Canadians in the Summer Ball League, because we're used to it.
No, absolutely. I know you guys, again, we went over your schedule earlier. It's just insane. Going off of that, what has been your current stick setup in terms of shaft, head, and stringing? What are you guys rocking these days?
Since I got to the NLL, it's been the Command with the Under Armour Command. I think it's the C96. I rely on my buddy Griffin. He's a high school lacrosse player, and he kind of tells me what exactly I'm using with the names and everything. But it's the black one that flexes. If I told him, he'll tell me the name of it. I think it's the C96 shaft and the Command head. But I think for the PLL Championship, that's going to get changed up, and I've got a couple different options that I'm trying to work out right now, so I'm going to figure that out soon.
Gotcha.
And my current setup, I've got 2 sticks going right now. I have a defensive stick that I just use from Box from Calgary, which is a lot heavier and a lot beefier, and it's meant to do some damage on some people
on the cross check.
and not break on me. But then the new stick, I just strung it up actually last night. I got home from Calgary last night, and I strung up my stick in bed at, I think it was 10 o'clock, and then woke up this morning, had to get a screwdriver, tape it all up, and put it on the stick. But I'm rocking an Evo QX shaft. It's so insanely light. It's got great grip on it. I helped develop this product at Warrior, and the head that I'm using, I don't even know if I'm allowed to tell you the name of it, but it's an Evo, and it's got also some prototype mesh that I'm not even allowed to tell you about. So I'm using a lacrosse stick.
Yeah, there you go. A little teaser there. So you can't tell any more details, but at least people have the sense of what it could be to come from Warrior coming up. So that's cool. And then my final one for the lacrosse ones is, what has been your favorite venue to play lacrosse at? I know you guys, it can be box, field. You probably played at so many that it's, hard to pick just one, but what are some of your favorite venues to play at?
It's a pretty easy question for, I think, both of us,
Yeah.
but the Peterborough Memorial Center, the fans in Peterborough are unbelievable. They pack that arena, and it's no matter what game it is, regular season, playoff, Mann Cup game, you're always excited to play at the Mem Center in Peterborough. So hands down, the Mem Center.
I think you have 3,500 fans, max capacity, and if we've got a game against Six Nations, that thing is full, and you got a bunch of people sneaking in the back door too.
That's awesome.
It is Peterborough, so you got a couple scammers there. But definitely the Peterborough Memorial Center, and they're some of the most knowledgeable fans in the game. Like, a lot of these people have been watching the Peterborough Lakers for 20 years back when they weren't very good. Mm-hmm. And if we're playing bad, like, we will hear it from the fans. If we're playing well, we'll also hear it. So we have very loyal and knowledgeable fans, and it's a great place to play.
That's awesome. That wraps up the lacrosse questions. Adam's got some off-the-field questions for you guys too.
Number one, I know this one might be crazy since you guys are so busy, but what are some hobbies or activities you like to do when you're not on the field or box?
I'd say it's almost become an addiction now to go fishing.
Okay.
It's taken over all of my free time. My girlfriend can attest to that, and I don't think she loves it, but since I moved out of town a little bit, I've got more access to the river and to go fishing, and I've become kind of obsessed with it. So fishing and yoga are pretty much my two that I get to do on my free time.
I try to golf, not very good at it.
Good answer.
And then other than that, I'll play some pickup hockey if I have the opportunity. Golf, I'll go fishing with him for half the amount of time that he wants to go out, and I'll drag him back to shore.
Drop them off and go back out for more.
Do you guys go out on a canoe, or are you like more fishing from the land, or?
I got a little fishing boat out here, so we have. It's nice that it's right here on the river that I can get onto it nice and easy and go out. So I'm kind of fortunate that I'm able to get out on the river as easily as I am. I think it'd be a lot different because of how busy we are, that I am able to get home from work and get out on the river in 5 minutes. So that helps big time.
Yeah, that's awesome. My future father-in-law is a big fisherman. He goes out in the ocean on the Jersey Shore, but he's like that too. It's like he's just, whenever he has any free time, he's getting on the boat or whatever. So I'm kind of more like Zach. I like fishing, but I don't want to be out there all day, all the time. So
yeah, I got like an hour and a half, 2 hour time limit, and then I'm good.
Here we go.
It doesn't matter if he's catching lots of fish; it's still done. Not
really?
some guys out there and we're getting skunked, and he's done. We're out there catching fish consistently. He's like, all right, I'm out of here. Like, doesn't make any sense.
All right, number two. Who's a non-lacrosse athlete that you think would excel if they played lacrosse? Could be a current pro, former pro.
Well, you got to pick an NHL player, I'd say, and just the first one that comes off the top of my head is the Richies from Orangeville. We played against them growing up, and if they weren't in the NHL, they'd be in the NLL right now. They were unbelievable lacrosse players. So I think there's plenty more NHL players that Brendan Montour played on Six Nations, played against him our whole lives. So
Sean Monahan on the Flames.
So yeah, they're hockey players for sure. There's a few of them.
But I'd say John Tavares, the nephew of the John.
Yeah.
But I think he was the leading scorer at Junior A for a couple years. So I feel like that's the no-brainer. It might be a cop-out answer because he is kind of a lacrosse athlete, but that's who I'm picking.
There we go. I feel like every Canadian we've had that we asked that question to usually went with an NHLer. Like we had Dallas Eliak on last week, and he went with Dom Hasek. He stayed in the goalie room. So
it makes sense too, though. It's kind of funny when we ask this question because that up in Canada you guys play hockey and box lacrosse. That's kind of what your guys' MO is. So it's more of an obvious answer, I feel like. Whereas us Americans, it's the hockey is popular, but it's still nothing compared to Canada. I wish I would have played. I lived in Michigan for a little bit, but I never ended up getting on the skates, and that's unfortunately if you can't skate, you can't play hockey. So lacrosse was another good option, but that's funny.
Yeah. All right. Number 3, favorite spot to vacation.
Well, I always say to my girlfriend because she wants to go on vacations, but the little village we call is the Trent River. It's called the Village of Trent River, and they call it, and it's on the little slogan on the sign says "Vacation Land of the Trent."
Okay.
So I'd say we're on vacation every weekend here.
That's awesome.
Up at our house here, but other than that, Virginia Beach. I get down there for alumni weekend. I consider that a vacation of mine. So if I get down to Virginia Beach, I'm definitely a happy camper.
That's awesome. I'm going down to the Outer Banks, actually. So not Virginia, a little farther than Virginia Beach, but I love Virginia, North Carolina beaches are really nice.
Yeah, we did our grad trip in Outer Banks. So
Yeah.
I think there was 12 of us, 12 of our graduates, bunch of lacrosse guys, and a couple of our close friends from school. We went to the Outer Banks for, I think, 5 or 6 days after we graduated. It's an awesome place there too.
Good spot.
Yeah. What about you, Zach?
Other than going to visit my girlfriend in Calgary, my favorite vacation spot would probably be the Chesapeake Bay at my good friend Bear Ultimus's house. I don't know the city that it's in or the town or whatever, but it's in Maryland, a little south of Annapolis, maybe an hour away from there. But they have an awesome spot right on the bay. We'll go out there and go crabbing on the trot line, and we'll go out and catch some stripers and then cook them up and have a great meal and just hang out. And Mr. Ultimus has a keg in the fridge, and he's got the little dispenser on it where you can go fill up your drink. So I don't think you can beat that spot. And I'm lucky to get down there when I can. Jeez.
Good. That's awesome.
It's a good spot. Number 4, speaking of meals, what's your favorite meal, and do you prefer to take out or cook at home?
Since moving out here, I think I keep saying that, but we're kind of far from restaurants, and so we cook a lot of meals at home, but our treat night is sushi. We'll go and pick sushi up. Well, right now we'll pick sushi up, bring it home. We usually stay in town, but during COVID we pick it up and bring it home. So sushi would be number 1, and we have a favorite Indian spot in town as well. That would probably be our number 2.
I'm going with a cop-out answer and saying sushi as well. The salmon nigiris at the Medoy's, the spot in Peterborough, I could probably eat 50 of those. So I'm going with sushi as well.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's funny to get people's answers too. I mean, it doesn't sound like yours changes too much, but a lot of people too that like to dine out can't really now. So it's always an interesting answer that we get.
All right, last one. What's a book you'd recommend to a friend? And we're adding a part B to that one, since everyone's been quarantined for so long. A lot of people have been binging stuff. So what's your movie or show you've been watching during quarantine?
I'll take a pass on the first question, and I will say, what was the show we really got into there with the Nazi hunters on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, it's good.
Got into that show pretty good, and so that'd be a recommendation, is Hunters on Amazon Prime.
And I'm not much of a reader either, but I have read a couple good ones. I'd say either the Hunger Games series was a really good one, or Unbroken, the story about Louis Zamperini.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Those are 2 that I'd say are at the top of my list. And then for shows, I started watching New Girl. It's pretty hilarious. I like New Girl. And if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, you got to watch that too.
New Girl is me and my fiance's go-to whenever we can't decide on anything, because they're so short episodes and they're so funny. I can't pick a favorite character on that show. They're just all hilarious.
Schmidt for
You
sure.
like Schmidt? See, some days I like Schmidt, but Winston, man, gets me all the time. And then Coach is also really, really funny.
It's an awesome show. I can agree.
Well, that wraps up our 5 and 5. The last question we like to end on, we ask all our guests, is what is some advice that you have for a young player looking to one day play lacrosse professionally?
As cliche as it is, I'm going to say keep your grades up and do well in school, because just having good grades keeps all of your options open, no matter what school. If you got the best grades possible, you have no limitations of what school you can get into. So keep those grades up, and then you're going to be able to get into whatever school that wants you, whatever school you want to go to. So I think that's a huge factor in becoming successful with lacrosse.
And then I'm kind of going to build on that and say be a student of the game. When we were younger, we were fortunate to be surrounded by so many lacrosse greats. I don't know if you get a better spot than Peterborough to do that. And the ability that we had to kind of watch these guys play and watch what they're doing with their stick and why they're doing it, and bring that back to the backyard and try it out ourselves and be like, oh, that makes sense. And then it kind of comes second nature during a game when you've already kind of messed around in the backyard. And if that opportunity does pop up to throw a behind the back shot or to do a shovel pass to one of your teammates, you've already done it. You've already kind of worked on it in the backyard. And it's thanks to us watching like John Grant Jr. and Tracy Koleski and Sean Evans and all these guys growing up. And it becomes second nature to us. So be a student of the game, and whenever you have the opportunity to soak up some knowledge, make sure you remember it and go back and try it out in the backyard yourself.
No, that's great. I think that's some great advice for our young listeners. And I love what you guys are doing too with Top Draft Lacrosse. I think it's great to kind of give back and kind of train the next generation. And we appreciate you guys coming on the podcast to talk about your careers, and excited to watch you guys this summer.
Thanks for having us on.
Today, I also want to talk to you about Phoenix supplements. I started using Phoenix supplements after searching for a supplement brand that didn't use any unnecessary additives. Phoenix's line of supplements use only the required ingredients and is free of any fillers that many supplement companies use. Not only that, but their supplements are produced here in the US in an FDA-regulated facility. And the best part is they taste really good. I personally like using the Orange Dreamsicle protein blend in the morning, and I use their chocolate whey following workouts. So if you're interested in trying Phoenix supplements, visit their website, fnxfit.com, and use the code PROLACROSSE to receive 15% off your order today.